of boundaries do you have set up in your relationship, and why are boundaries even important? Like, why can't people just do what they want to do?
Well, first of all, boundaries are important because they help you
Get where you want to go.
Yeah, they help you get where you want to go.
Yeah.
So, pastors use this illustration all the time. When you're driving on the highway, that line, when you get on the line and start hearing those bumps, like the ridges, like that is a boundary to keep you from going over the cliff. So boundaries are good. A lot of things, you hear boundaries, you're like, like it's restriction. But no, boundaries are to keep you in the right place, going in the right path. So that's why boundaries are good, because it keeps you focused, it keeps you going in a straight line.
Yeah.
So some of the boundaries we have is, we kind of alluded to it, we don't stay in the house alone. So we really are never in the house that much together.
They really don't, guys. Before I got here,
we're in the
downstairs.
clubhouse, yeah.
Another boundary is we actually don't kiss. Now, we can tell a story about that.
Please do.
Because we started off kissing. I know some people are going to hear that, they don't kiss, they whatever. We're not better than anybody. That's not what we did it. We did it because when we were kissing, it was too much.
Yeah.
Now, praise God, we never went too far, and we didn't touch any inappropriate places or anything like that. I praise God for that.
Yeah.
But the kissing was still too hot and heavy when we were doing it.
Yeah.
So I think we were kissing for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was just too much. And it got to the point where we realized it was hindering our relationship with God. And it was crazy because looking back on it, that first 6 months we kind of felt lonely in dating. We didn't have that many friends that were dating. We didn't feel like we were plugged into community.
Yeah.
So after we stopped kissing, I feel like that's when God really started speaking to us and giving us vision for what our relationship should look like. Because instead of being in each other's faces all the time, now we can hear God clearly. We're not distracted by each other.
That's a huge distraction for us.
So you want to go?
Other boundaries. I mean, I think we should talk about some good boundaries too. They're all good, but boundaries are like fences too. It keeps the good things in and the bad things out.
Yeah.
And that's gonna look different in every season. Because one thing I think people forget about is there's gonna be boundaries in marriage too, or there should be. Just like how now you don't have sex with somebody you're not married with. You're not gonna be having sex with somebody you're not married with when you're married as well. So it's kind of now, and I thank God for this. Tim has done, ever since we stopped kissing almost 2 years ago, we've gotten in a good habit of killing our flesh. And we even protecting our eyes from certain TV shows or visuals or all of those different things, because you don't want to get caught up in lust and things like that. And that's going to help us transfer into marriage and disciplining ourselves. So it's okay, well, I didn't kiss people that I wasn't married to, for a while. And so now moving into marriage, because people get into weird situations when you're married just because the enemy hates healthy marriages and he is going to attack, your healthy marriage. So it's if you're doing things now to prepare yourself for that, okay, I only look at my wife, I only touch my wife, or my husband or whatever. And so when people approach you, say if you're at work and people are trying to Karen, you look real good, and you're I'm married, and they're I don't care, I can treat you better than your husband. That's real life stuff. That happens to people. One of the reasons why the divorce rate is so high is because people aren't disciplining themselves to step away from those situations. The Bible says, flee from sexual immorality. But if you're not fleeing now, it's going to be hard for you to flee later. So that's one of the things I'm grateful for our boundaries now, because it's going to be a lot easier for us to say no, because we're saying no now. Versus if you say yes to everything now, it's going to be really easy for you to say yes to everything later. So that's another way to think about boundaries. You're going to have to do them if you want to have a God-honoring marriage. But some other boundaries we have, spiritually, we pray together at least 3 times a week. We're always praying for each other. We have different areas of our lives that we're praying for, just because it can be really easy for life to get busy, and you're we haven't prayed together in so long. And other people may feel differently about
praying together.
Praying together, which is fine. But that's what we do, and it works for us. It's usually over the phone, so when we talk at night, so it's nothing weird, we're sitting on the bed or anything like that. But some other, we make sure we try to communicate as much as possible. We have monthly meetings to talk about our lives and hey, what do you have going on next month? What do we have planned together, family stuff, birthday parties, all that stuff. Just because communication is a really big thing in relationships. And you would hate to be oh well, I thought we were going here and you were going there, and So we just try to communicate about things.
Also, the monthly meeting isn't just for like that. Where are you going and what do you have to do? It's also, hey, where are we in our relationship? Hey, where are we with honoring God? Where are we with how we treat each other? How do you feel about this relationship? How can I treat you better this month? What's one thing you learned about me this month? So that's also what that time is for.
Yeah, like to reflect. But yeah, so I mean, those are obviously the physical boundaries are going to be the most important, because just the type of like world and culture we live in, it's very easy for the enemy to use that to distract the couple or the individuals.
Yeah.
So those are big things. Yeah, I mean, we talked about obviously like when we travel and stuff, which we have to do because my family doesn't live here. Other couples don't have to, and that's great. But yeah, like we still keep our same boundaries even when we're not in our regular routine.
Yeah.
So,
and I think one thing I want to say is our boundaries changed or got more strict as we progressed.
Yeah.
Or they just were different. So like when we were just talking, we were dating, like we didn't talk after 10 p.m. at night or something like that. Sometime where we weren't talking after that point, because it was like we're not even really dating yet. Yeah. So like let's just try to protect ourselves as much as possible before nobody's made any type of commitment at this point. And that was tough too. That was tough. Not talking after that 10 p.m. because you're like, oh, I like this person, I want to talk. It's like, no, like let's keep it here. But then once we started dating, we pushed that time back a little bit and had more time. But we're not talking at like 1 and 2 in the morning. Right. We cut it off after that.
We're too tired.
Yeah, we sleep anyway. But that was just another example of something that we did during that time.
Yeah, it changes within the season. It's just like if people get new jobs and things like that, you're gonna have to change your boundaries or your set times or whatever. So so that's why we have those monthly meetings, like kind of evaluate where we are.
And even now, like in this engagement season, we're about to have more meetings because now it's not just about our relationship. We're gonna have wedding planning meetings and we're about to have counseling meetings with people. So it changes, like you said, every season.
Yeah. So let's talk about the engagement phase. Actually, that's like the last phase. But how did you transition from like courtship? I mean, in the sense of dating, it's almost the same. But how do you transition out? How did you know, okay, this is time for me to propose to Pauline, like, this is the time? Did you get any sense of confirmation, or did confirmation come long before?
So I know for me, I knew before we even started dating that the type of personality that Pauline had was the type of personality I needed in a woman who I'm going to marry. So it wasn't even like, oh, I know Pauline's the one or anything like that, because there is no the one.
Thank you.
There is no the one. But she had the type of personality that I need. She's very aggressive. She likes to get things done. And like without Jesus, I have a tendency to get lazy and not do things. And it's crazy how once we started dating, I made honor roll every semester after that. Dean's List, whatever it's called. Yeah, Dean's List. I didn't make it that much. So, but before that, I was like getting D's in classes. Because I had no accountability and I had no reason to really. I knew I needed somebody that would. I needed somebody that would motivate me to be better than myself. Yeah. And like some people can do that by themselves, but that just ain't me. So I'm grateful that I'm getting married younger opposed to later, because I'm way more focused now. Like Tim 2 years ago was.
I brought out the best in you.
You did. I don't know what I was doing before. So I think for me it was more time. When was the time to propose to Pauline? Because like we wanted to marry each other like 6, 8, 9 months in. Right. But I was still in school. The money it didn't make any sense.
I wasn't working full time.
Yeah. It just didn't make sense. And like it's funny because I felt like God told me not to save for a ring until after I graduated. And like there was a lot of times like I would try to like save some money up separately. It was like, just put this here just in case. I'm being wise. I'm saving money. I'm being wise. But it's crazy. Every time I try to do that, flat tire. Oh, let me take that money, put it to the flat tire. Yeah. So God was really like not with that. And literally once I graduated, like a month or 2 after, not even, I had the money to get the ring. My friends were blessing me. Shout out to y'all know who you are. People were blessing me with money. Obviously you get graduation money. So I was able to get the ring fairly quickly. Yeah. And I had a peace about, okay, now it's finally time. Because before, when you want something, but you don't really have a peace about it, but you try to like ignore it. You're like, oh, nah. But I knew, okay, I have a peace about it now. It makes sense. Yeah. And then I talked to Pastor Damon, was like, I think it's right. He was like, yeah, that's great. And then he was like, make sure you talk to her dad, even though I was already going to do that. But so I flew up to talk to her dad, and he gave me the blessing. And
you didn't just call him on the phone.
No, I flew up to Boston. Good. I paid money for that flight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I paid money for that zip car. Paid money to fill that gas back up. This was an expensive trip.
And he brought them my parents' gifts.
I bought them gifts. No, it wasn't expensive gifts.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, he's very honoring.
They got like some Hershey Kisses or something, but it was a gift.
Anything, whatever
flowers.
You can get.
But I went all the way up there. It was a 1-day trip. Flew in, got what I needed. Yeah. Flew out.
He showed them the ring.
I took the ring with me. Showed them I'm serious. You want to let them know, like, this is not a joke. Especially when you're younger. Yeah. Parents can be like, oh, you know, what's this boy about to do? They don't know what they're doing. Blah blah blah. But it's like, no. Like, here you go. Bling bling. Laid out the plan. So I was there for like 5 hours just talking to them about it. They fixed me food. That was nice.
Yeah.
But anyway,
my parents are very nice.
I love her parents. Yeah, so. Came back, got a blessing a few weeks later, began mapping out a plan of how I wanted to do it. Again, mentors helped me. They have a nice apartment complex, and they had like a little lounge area, or whatever you want to call it, and I had like an after party there, and before that had a proposal at another location with friends around. It's also important, fellas, because you gave ladies a tip earlier. So fellas, make sure you know what she wants with their proposal, because every woman is different. Some women, they want to have it private, just you two. Some people want a bunch of people around. Some people want a mix, which is confusing. But just make sure you know what she wants, and that'll help you plan. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Oh wow. Okay. So now that you're like in the engagement, what type of, you guys mentioned that you're about to start couple counseling. Yes. So what type of things are you doing to prepare yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally for marriage? Because engagement is not just wedding planning.
Of course, that's not it at all.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew that just because we're really passionate about relationships and marriage, and we want to make sure that our marriage is one that God can use and like kind of put on display as an example of like His heart for marriage. So yeah, we're very intentional about it. I mean, the tough thing about marriage is like you're never gonna go into marriage saying like, oh, I'm ready. I'm gonna be the best wife ever. I know everything there is to know. Because it's a journey. You're always gonna be learning. But we read books about marriage, about engagement. Getting just around community, around other people who are in our same season. Like we're very intentional about going out, to dinner with other couples who are engaged or who are married, and just like learning their different stories from them about like what their season of marriage has looked like, things like that. It's been like just like kind of like a sponge season for us as an engaged couple, and also it makes the time go by faster when you're surrounded by people, not just us two staring at each other like how many days. We're just trying to enjoy the season of engagement. We're doing premarital counseling through our church, which Tim has mentioned before. We're also doing an engagement boot camp through another church. That it's more of like it's supplemental. It's not in place of. So and we're paying money for it because that's how serious it is for us, and it's an investment. People, we're gonna spend thousands of dollars on a wedding. We can't spend a couple $100 on marriage counseling. Like that's crazy. Because the wedding is only one day, but the marriage is forever. We want to get in the habit of being students. So we want to go through counseling when we're married, not because there's gonna be problems. I mean, there will be, but we want to get in the habit of like humbling ourselves and like asking for help. Because we want it's not about me being right or him being right. It's about our marriage being the healthiest it can possibly be. That's another thing that we're doing. That's a 7-week boot camp that we're starting next month. So we'll be doing that, in addition to the regular counseling we're doing with our church, and then we're also doing Financial Peace University together, which is, for those who don't know, it's a connect group or a small group run by Dave Ramsey to help people get their finances in order, like in a godly way. And a lot of couples do it as their premarital counseling. So it'll be a part of ours, and I've been through it before, so we're gonna go through it together. Just because coming together with finances is gonna be interesting.
That's always hard.
So yeah, that's another thing that we're doing.
Okay. Yeah. You have any additional?
I think that's good.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Okay, so my last question before we kind of close off is, in this process of dating, engagement, and even like when you get married, how do you not, I don't want to say lose your individuality, but how do you focus enough on yourself that you don't idolize your partner, because a lot of times I think what sometimes hurts relationship is that we have so much expectation on this one person to fulfill all of our needs, but that's not necessarily how it's supposed to be. So how do you go about protecting yourself?
That's true. So there's like this picture or diagram like for married couples, and it's a triangle, right? And if you think about a triangle, it's shaped like this. I hope you know what a triangle looks like. But there's a man on the bottom of the triangle on the left side and a woman on the bottom of the triangle on the right side. So as they go up this triangle, God is at the top. As you go up, you get closer to God, you naturally get closer to each other.
Yeah.
So I think when you keep your eyes focused on God and like focused on what he's calling you to do and focused on what he's told you to do in that season, then it's easier for you guys to come together, and it's not like I'm focusing on Pauline and that's just it. It's like, no, I'm focused on God, and then like as I do that, God will bring us together. Yeah. If that makes sense. So I think that's a really big thing. Just continuing to, at least when you're still dating and engaged, doing what you were doing with that, still going out with your friends, still having time for them. Like, it should never be a situation where you get a girlfriend or a boyfriend and your friend's like, man, I ain't seen you in months. And it's like, what? Like, no, like, still hang out with them, bring them along with your partner, have group things where everybody can get to know each other. Yeah. So I think that's helpful.
Yeah, I think, Pastor Zai, who's one of our pastors, she said something really good a while ago that was, someone had asked her, like, what's one of the qualities you need in preparing for marriage and to be a good spouse, and she said, being generous. And I think she makes a good point in saying that marriage is about servanthood, and it's, if you remember that, it will help you realize your role. So you're not there to like receive. Yes, you are going to receive things from your partner, and it's going to be great, and you're going to just be like, wow, guys, this is so great, someone's like loving on me. But there's going to be seasons when your partner can't do certain things, whether there's job loss, there's sickness, there's they're just going through a tough time with themselves emotionally, and that should not break you. Personally, okay, well, Tim's going through a tough time. I'm going to be strong for both of us. Yeah. And the same thing, like, people get pregnant, your wife maybe she can't cook as much as she used to. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to step up and I'm going to cook and I'm going to, clean the house and help out more. It shouldn't be like, ever since you got pregnant, ever since you got sick, you've been a terrible wife. You have to realize your role there is to serve and to give. And when you do that, I think, one, you recognize that you're special and that you have things to give, and you have these great qualities, and this person chose you because you're good at this, you're good at that, and God has paired you together for that reason. But it also protects your heart, and it helps, I think, guard against disappointment and that idolizing that you had mentioned, because it's like, if you look to your partner for all these things and when they don't give it to you, you're going to be disappointed. And when they do give it to you, you should think of it as like an added blessing as to whatever God has given it to you, because you're perfect, as you are. God accepts you and he loves you as you are, and so should that person. But also, like, because there's gonna be times y'all gonna fight, he's gonna disrespect you, she's gonna dishonor you, not because they're not good people, just because humans are faulty and we're imperfect, and you can't let that ruin your whole day or your whole life or whatever. And I think just like remembering what your role is, like, I'm here to serve Tim. I'm here to make his life better. And like, I know that he can do the same thing for me, but ultimately my source is the Lord. So like, but I have to remember, like, I'm here to serve him, and I can serve him because God serves me and because God loves me and God fills me up. Yeah. And I think also just protecting each other's like relationships with God, like we'll constantly talk about, even as we ended this fast, like, hey, what did you take from this fast? What do you feel like God has been showing to you? Open your eyes. What have you been learning? Encouraging each other, like, hey, you need to go talk to God about this, because I don't have the answer. Like, I just don't know. And Tim does a really great job of that. And you will have seasons where I've had seasons where I feel like I was idolizing Tim, just like, well, what do you think I should do? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't know. Like, you need to go talk to God on your own. And it's okay. Like, it's okay. But you want to make sure you have, a partner that can do that for you. Because they're constantly talking about, this is what God's telling me and God's pouring into me. So just remembering that you're special and that, like, what your role is not to consume, your role is to give. And I think just remember that God is the one who's the source of you giving to your spouse.
And to answer that question for like the single and dating people, because I don't think we touched on it enough, there's going to be times, like Pauline said, where you may feel like you're starting to cross that boundary and you're starting to like idolize them too much, or you're starting to treat them like your spouse because they're not. I think a really good thing is, one, where are you with your boundaries? Like, are you beginning to cross them? Are you beginning to get lazy with them? you're not over the house with her all the time by yourself, but you may be in there a little bit, like here and there. Like, are you getting lazy with your boundaries? And then also, where are you at with your relationship with God? Like, are you really close with Him? Are you talking to Him? Like Pauline said, like, are you going to that person for advice more than you go to God?
Yeah.
And when you're in any relationship, it's really important that they're pushing you closer to God. So if I was dating Pauline or we were engaged and she was not pushing me closer to God, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Because now you're pulling me away from what's the most important thing on earth.
Yeah.
Same thing for her. If she was coming to me and I was saying like, yeah, let's not do this, and it was something that was dishonoring God, like that's a big red flag. So the person should be pushing you closer to God. And if for some reason you guys aren't going closer, that's when you know, ooh, I might be idolizing this person because anything
I'm compromising, who I love the most for this person.
Anything you idolize takes away from God.
Yeah.
That's not God. So
that's true. If you guys have any last words to say, this is your time to just throw in some gems. Not that you haven't, but if you guys have anything else to say?
I think just have fun. Like, dating can be a really, really serious thing. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, do you love God versus I love God? And like, all of those things. It's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
I believe that God loves marriage. He created it. You know, it's the cornerstone of the family. And it's just so important. And God doesn't want you to sit and rack your brain and stress about it. Like, it shouldn't take you months and weeks and all this time to figure out if you want to be with this person.
Yeah.
So I think like it should be simple, it should be spirit led, but it's not something really, really hard. Like, you shouldn't have to force that person to see things. You shouldn't have to force somebody to date you. You shouldn't have to force somebody to engage, you know, to propose to you or anything like that. I think it's supposed to be a lot of fun. It is hard work. It's definitely hard work. It's absolutely hard work. But I think that y'all should be working together and not like against each other. That's the major thing. But have fun. If you're not having fun, just, it's okay. God will bring somebody else. It's not that serious at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's not going to mess up your purpose and your destiny. So like, don't feel like you have to stay with somebody in order to be who God calls you to be.
And what I'll say is, if you're not in a relationship, don't settle. You don't have to settle. You are perfect the way you are. God created you to...
Forever is a long time, y'all.
Yeah. Like, don't settle. Like, that's just to stress that. And then enjoy your singleness. Enjoy the time where you're not with someone. Enjoy going out. We were at Cracker Barrel today, and there was this girl sitting there at Cracker Barrel eating a nice little breakfast, watching or doing whatever she was on her phone. And I was like, yo, that's dope that she's out there by herself. A lot of people are like, I ain't going nowhere by myself. Like, why not? You can't be by yourself? Like, do you hate yourself that much where you can't sit there?
You can meet somebody when you're out by yourself.
Right.
I have friends who go to the movies by themselves. They go to concerts by themselves. I used to go to the movies by myself before I was dating because I want to see this movie I'm about to go. Like,
right. And it's not every time that you're by yourself. There's gonna be times you go out with your friends. Right. But don't be afraid to like get to know yourself. Like
you have to
know what you like, know what you want. I'm funny. I make myself laugh. I don't need Pauline to tell me I'm funny. Now that's nice. You know. I like when you tell me. Thanks. See, I like that. Stroke the ego. Oh, but I know I'm funny, so I knew that before she came. So if she doesn't tell me I'm funny, it's not like, oh, she didn't tell me I'm funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just don't, you know. So it's really good to know who you are. Enjoy the time you have by yourself.
Because you're never gonna be by yourself.
That's true. That's very true.